Frank, the monster in the dark. Welcome. Thank you for joining us in this new story we prepared for you. It is inspired by some real-life anecdotes that were sent to us and that we were asked to share, to give everyone a reflection that could be useful to many people who have a similar situation. We hope you like it. If you wish, you can send us your stories, make suggestions or proposals of topics. Let's begin. Friday afternoon in San Pedro, a small and relatively quiet town with a very diverse population. You can get the feeling of a clean community and the warm touch of its inhabitants. It is a quiet place to live, as you can still walk the streets without fear and there is a safe and familiar atmosphere. This particular day, when all the students of one of the elementary schools south of San Pedro are anxiously preparing to get out of classes and start a great weekend. Whether it was to rest, go to the movies, make plans with friends to go to the mall, to a park, or go to someone's house to enjoy a great afternoon in the company of close friends. That was the plan for all the students at the school. Well, at least almost all of them. In the empty interior of one of the classrooms, stood Sam. A 10-year-old boy, insecure, very shy and friendless. On the contrary, his classmates were a constant nuisance. They were always looking to make fun of someone, and since Sam was very quiet, and didn't pick on anyone, he turned out to be the perfect victim. He was constantly mocked for what he said or did, which is why he didn't talk to anyone, had no friends and isolated himself from others. If he was picked on or teased, Sam felt a deep anger and wondered, where are the teachers when they are needed most? He felt despair at the realization that they were only there when he seemed to be doing something wrong, only to be scolded or taken to the principal's office. He told himself that it was a conspiracy of the universe that things were always against him. I'm sure maybe more than one of us has thought the same thing at one time or another. But for Sam, this was a common occurrence. On one occasion, a classmate was teasing him by throwing a plastic plug at him in the schoolyard. After provoking him so much, Sam decided to do the same to him. He firmly picked up the cap and, taking advantage of a carelessness of his classmate who was about 5 meters away, threw it at him with sufficient force. Unfortunately, the plug acted more like a flying disc and shot out with a curved trajectory towards its target. Sam watched the object's trajectory with a smirk, but that smirk quickly faded. As if by a conspiracy of fate, things changed for the worse. Just at that moment, the strictest teacher in the school was passing among them. The cap impacted on the master's unsuspecting face, hitting his shiny forehead. It was a solid impact. Dry. To make matters worse, the sound of the impact caused a wave of laughter among the students, and even the janitor found it hard not to let out a guffaw. As expected, Sam was immediately taken to the principal's office. Already in front of the school principal, the version of events, told by the angry teacher, was very exaggerated, not to mention the red spot on that forehead that shone even brighter. The teacher was still unable to speak well because of his anger. These were anecdotes that happened quite often to Sam, but that particular day, and like every Friday, Sam was feeling more nervous than usual. With a worried look on his face, and visibly frightened, he constantly looked around as he peered out of the classroom window where he was hiding. For him, that classroom was not just a place to study, it was more like a refuge. Sam lived in constant fear because of a group of older boys who bullied him relentlessly at school. He knew that they would surely be looking for him to apply their daily dose of evil without him being able to defend himself. On Fridays the torment increased because they knew they would not be able to bother him during the weekend. For poor Sam, school dismissal time became a constant torture. Almost every day he was assaulted without the teachers noticing. Sometimes he was locked in empty classrooms, sometimes his backpack was taken from him and hung in trees he couldn't climb to retrieve it. He often had to ask the janitor for help to retrieve it, only to receive an unfair scolding because he was blamed for doing it on purpose to miss classes. Several times he had his things broken and others he would get his notebook scratched or spit on. Lunches were a time he could never enjoy. This is what it was like. When he finally mustered enough courage to leave his shelter, Sam took one last look around the schoolyard. He looked around, making sure everything was calm and safe. He calculated the best escape route to the school's exit gate. He knew that once he crossed the entrance gate he would be safe because his mother would be waiting for him in the car outside the school. He gave a long sigh. He opened the door a little. He was ready to take the first step in a harrowing race to his freedom and leave that gang behind. He had barely gone 10 meters when he was grabbed from behind and dragged into the room where the school cleaning equipment was kept. With a tremendous shock, Sam turned his head to find Marcus. A 12-year-old boy of ill repute and leader of those who picked on him. He was accompanied by 2 more bullies. Sam couldn't believe his bad luck. After throwing him on the dirty floor, they went through his backpack and took out a notebook and a book, then stomped on them. They also found a drawing made by Sam, which they made fun of. It was a drawing of a superhero. It was a glowing figure that could fly. That drawing was his favorite. In an oversight by the bullies as they admired the drawing, Sam quickly got up and snatched them out of their hands along with his backpack after pushing them away. None of them imagined that he could run so fast. It took them a while to react and they began to chase him. For poor Sam, this escape meant getting away from a sure beating and maybe worse. Already tired and with his legs aching from the effort, he managed to reach the entrance gate where he could see his mother, who was distracted by her cell phone. Sam, turning to look at the bullies, realized with horror that they were almost catching up with him. He forced his body to do his best and was almost to the car when he was grabbed by the shirt by Marcus. His heart raced as he felt trapped. He couldn't believe it. He was lost. He only closed his eyes waiting for punishment when he heard his mother's voice.
Sam, you were late getting out again. Who is your friend? Hurry up, we have to go to your grandparents' house first. Come on, get in the car and say goodbye to your friend.
As his mother went back to looking at her cell phone, Sam firmly shook off Marcus' hand and hurried to get into the car. Before closing the door, he turned triumphantly to see the bully's face smiling inexplicably. Grimly, Sam realized that once again his drawing had been snatched away from him without him realizing it. As the car drove away, he watched helplessly as his superhero was smashed to pieces and thrown to the ground. This provoked a mixture of weariness and anger in Sam. He was fed up with the situation. He couldn't take it anymore and wanted to find a solution. He couldn't talk about it with his parents because he was afraid that he would make the situation worse and it wouldn't be solved anyway. On the way, his mother talked non-stop, but Sam couldn't pay attention to her. He was lost in his thoughts and didn't listen to her. His mind was distracted by anger. He wished with all his might to find a solution to end it all. That evening, back home, he set out to forget about Marcus, the gang and any other problems. So he went to his room to calm down. Sam was so desperate that he spent a lot of time retreating into his mind to escape his problems. He found tranquility using his imagination and little by little he began to talk to himself mentally, and then to something that did not exist. This gave him peace, then he would address it with his voice, as if it were someone who listened and understood him even if he received no response. It was enough the mixture of despair, sadness, insecurity, loneliness and other feelings, all together gathered enough strength to form someone non-existent inside his mind. He interacted with it on a daily basis. So much so, that he did not know the exact moment when he was already accompanied by an imaginary friend he addressed as Fizz. He doesn't remember if he made up the name or if his new friend told him because he was already responding to him. Fizz at first was just a luminous, ethereal, floating figure, as if he was made of light only. He reminded Sam a lot of the superhero he liked to draw and that Marcus destroyed. That was how this friendship began, a friendship that served as a companion for Sam in his difficult moments. Little by little he began to visualize Fizz in the form of the superhero he admired. Daylight was already fading. For Sam, every night was a challenge full of fears and mysteries. Fizz helped a lot with his company so he didn't feel so bad. That Friday night, Sam lay in his bed, tucked up to his head talking to Fizz in a low voice. The room felt freezing. Poor boy. He knew what was in store for him again. The clock read 11 o'clock at night. Sam's parents had already gone to sleep. The house was silent, except for the faint whisper of the wind that filtered through the half-open window moving the curtains. It was at that moment, when the house was plunged into total darkness and that desperate silence that makes you hear a high-pitched screeching in your ears, as if everything else disappeared. Under her bed she could hear something crawling, something heavy. Then, at the back of her room, in the closet, she could hear faint rustling and uncomfortable scratching, while barely audible growls could be heard at the same time. Most disturbing was the sight of a pair of red eyes glowing and peering out of the back of the closet. It was terrifying. Suddenly, the closet door opened slowly with an uncomfortable creak. Sam hugged Fizz for shelter. A dark, bulky figure slipped out of the closet slowly. Those eyes glowing in the gloom were slowly approaching. It was a creepy creature that had been visiting him for some time. It was covered in thick, dark-as-night hair, with large claws and sharp teeth. Some nights it appeared in the closet, most of the time, under the bed. Sometimes only its red eyes could be seen glowing in the darkness of the corners of his room, and sometimes peering out of the window. Whenever the monster made its presence known, the room became very cold. This creature had not harmed him so far, but it was frightening to know it was there and not know what it was, or what its intentions were. It was only dedicated to scaring by making annoying noises, throwing or hiding objects. Even Fizz himself was afraid of it. That night was different. Something changed in Sam. He was tired of feeling fear because of others. He felt courage coursing through his body, so he got out of bed, stood up and firmly faced the monster with a mixture of fear and resignation, but mostly anger. Fearful and unsure, he grabbed a pillow as a shield. Fizz stood beside him, giving him full support, and spoke defiantly to the creature.
That's enough. Who are you? Why don't you leave me alone? I've had enough of everyone bothering me. It's over. I won't allow it again. Stay away from me. I don't want to be afraid of you anymore, or anyone else. Stay away from us, Mons.
How dare you, you insignificant mini-human? Aren't you afraid of me? I have never been confronted like this before. I admit I am surprised by your insolence and bravery. I like that, I must admit. All right, mini-human, you've earned it. I'll stop bothering you a little, just a little, but I'm not leaving here. That's for me alone to decide, not you.
I appreciate it, I really do, but if we are going to spend time together I think it is best that we make a respectful alliance. You are welcome, but I ask that you do not frighten or harm anyone in my family, Fizz, or me. By the way, what should I call you?
All right, Sam and Fizz. I accept the alliance, although I don't need to make an agreement with you. You can call me Frank here. In my world, my name is made up of 33 words and 6 sounds that in your human tongue you could never pronounce. Much less the luminous thing you call Fizz. In my world the short version of my name is Cafrancthrosulexarto. I was assigned to these lands many years ago by my clan for a purpose. I have some powers that make things easier for me, such as influencing the minds of others, immobilizing humans, invading them with inexplicable fears and other things. That's all I can tell you. There are several things I must not do, nor say because they could drive me out of my world forever.
All right, Frank. That's good enough for me.
And if you also take a bath, dog thing? It wouldn't be bad at all. You can't imagine how you smell. Surely in your world that has to be removed with 33 buckets of water and 6 soaps.
Little imaginary insect. Someday I'll get back at you for that disrespectful little joke. By the way, from now on I'll make Sam see you in the figure of a mini-human that looks like him, instead of an imaginary superhero. I'll do you the favor of making him see you a little more real. You've earned it for being disrespectful.
You were the one who started it. You called me a luminous thing.
Enough of this. I have enough human problems without watching you guys argue. One last favor, Frank. Could you not leave the room so cold when you show up? I don't want my parents to notice and worry, much less get sick.
That night, while Frank and Fizz were arguing, Sam interrupted them and shared with them his fears and the difficulties he faced at school. He told them about the bullies, and how every day was a constant struggle for him, because of all the bullying he suffered, especially on Fridays, which were torture.
Don't worry, Sam. Now we will be a clan and we will help you to face them. You can count on me.
Of course it is. Frank is right for the first time. You are not alone. We will help you. Together we can make those bullies regret bothering you. Maybe Frank's smell will be enough.
At least I exist and I have a real smell.
Over the weekend, Sam, Frank and Fizz came up with a plan to take on the bullies. Sam knew he couldn't do it alone, but with the help of his new friends he felt more confident and determined. Monday morning, Sam arrived at school with a new attitude. He walked with his head held high, determined not to be bullied anymore. It didn't take long for the bullies to show up, but this time, Sam wasn't alone and they had a plan. As they approached, they quickly snatched his lunchbox, but just as they were preparing to molest him, a teacher appeared and they had to make a hasty retreat with the loot in their hands. Later, Marcus and his henchmen sneakily ate Sam's lunch, and since they couldn't hurt him anymore, they looked for an opportunity at recess time to make mischief. By then, they had already annoyed other unlucky kids in the school. Sam was ready to face them. He was alone on a bench in the courtyard when he heard an unpleasant voice behind him.
Look who's here. Ready for your daily dose of fun, insect?
Sam stood up and stepped back a little, but this time it was not out of fear, but to give his invisible allies room.
Not this time. Marcus, you might be in for a surprise.
At that moment, Frank appeared behind the bullies. He was invisible to everyone except Sam. He let out a growl and held Marcus tightly by the shoulders. The bully paled and froze with fright. He had paralyzed him with fear. Although the others couldn't see it, they felt a strange sense of fear run down their backs. Marcus and the others could feel a sharp chill run through their entire bodies. Fizz, for his part, approached the bullies, creating distractions for them such as causing ringing in their ears, discomfort and dizziness. This made them feel very scared and uncomfortable. Marcus and his gang didn't know what was going on. They looked around confused and frightened. Taking advantage of the confusion, Sam addressed the leader of the bullies in a challenging manner.
That's enough, Marcus. I am not going to let you continue to bother me. I am not alone. There are forces that would not understand that protect me, and so they will react against you if you keep bothering me and other students. This is just a taste of what awaits you if you keep doing it.
The bullies, sensing Sam's growing discomfort and unexpected determination, began to back away in fear. They didn't know what was going on, they were confused. Meanwhile, a group of kids gathered around them to record everything with their cell phones, believing there was going to be a fight. When there were too many students gathered, something unexpected happened. The frightened bullies, almost at the same time, doubled over with their bodies clutching their stomachs and began to vomit. Then, a series of weird gaseous sounds and foul smells were felt in the air, and to everyone's surprise, Marcus ended up defecating in his pants. He looked like an uncontrolled volcano. At that moment, everyone present quickly turned back because of the disgusting smell. The bullies took advantage of that moment to run away to escape from the mocking laughter. This escape was almost impossible. They could not run because they were slipping on what Marcus was leaving all over the floor.
Thank you very much, Fizz and Frank. I didn't know they had that power. I'm sure with that they won't bother me or the others anymore.
Truth be told, Sam, Fizz and I just wanted to give them a big scare at first, but something happened after that. We don't know why they ended up in a bath of human fluids that no one wants to see or smell, but I'm glad it did. They deserved it. I thought some humans only smelled bad on the outside, but I see they smell worse on the inside.
The three accomplices looked at each other and walked away amused, remembering the disgusting but funny moment. It was satisfying for the clan. What Sam, Frank and Fizz didn't know was that Marcus and his gang had already been bothering other helpless students too much. One of their favorite mischief was stealing other people's food. This had already caused a lot of discontent among the students. Perhaps one of them wanted to teach them a lesson with a very special lunch. Marcus got a worse punishment because he had gotten the lion's share of the stolen lunch. Pleasantly for Sam, this was the beginning of a great new friendship. He felt a surge of relief and confidence. He knew he would no longer be alone or helpless, that Frank and Fizz would always be there to help him. He now had friends, a clan that would protect him. Frank and Fizz, though invisible to others, were always there, ready to support and accompany Sam in whatever challenges he faced. And so, what began as a relationship of fear and mystery, became a strong and lasting friendship that helped Sam grow and face his fears with courage. Let's reflect. The story of Frank, Sam, and Fizz offers a powerful reflection on bullying. Standing up to bullies is not only about resisting bullying, but also about finding support and strength in others, whether friends or family. Frank and Fizz, invisible to others but always present to Sam, symbolize the importance of emotional support and solidarity in difficult situations. This story shows how Sam's courage and determination, backed by the solidarity and support of his friends, not only allowed him to confront his aggressors, but also to grow personally and overcome his fears. It also highlights the need to raise awareness and take action against bullying, emphasizing that everyone has the right to feel safe and protected in their school, family, work and any other place or environment. What we haven't told you yet, is that once they got home, Frank made good on his threat to Fizz to turn him into a normal teenager in Sam's eyes, but this wasn't done as a punishment for Fizz. Frank knew that Sam needed a friend more than a superhero. He wanted him to be able to enjoy the company of a teenage friend, who although imaginary, was always going to be there for him. By the way, Frank moved into Sam's closet for good, converting it into a portal. This was against the rules of his clan, but he did it so he could be around when his friends needed him, and most of all, to have more space for himself. Which reminds me, this story is not over yet, he has more to tell you, so don't miss the following video. You won't believe what happened to poor Fizz. I hope you liked this story, thank you for your attention, and above all, I hope it is useful to you in some way. Your friend, Mr. Rollister sends his best regards. The end.